Good day, guys. Welcome to GDS Academy, and we are still on end of the year adjustment. So this time around, what we'll be dealing with is disposal of an asset. So in our previous class, we talked about depreciation, where we talked about straight line and reducing balance. So here we'll be dealing with how we dispose an asset. How do we account for an asset that has been disposed? All right. So yeah, we have an illustration ready for us to use. But before I do that, there are formats of disposing an asset. You understand? So I'll be making use of a ledger. So let's call this disposal account. Now note that before you prepare your disposal account, you would have made some adjustments. You understand? You would have made some adjustments by getting your accumulated depreciation and the likes. So this is how it goes. It's either you make use of this format, in format, whereby you have our cost of, here will represent the cost of the asset. Then we have our accumulated depreciation. Then we have our cash or bank. That is the amount that you receive from what? Disposing the asset. The amount you sold the asset. Then how do we know whether we make a profit or loss on the disposal? So by the end of the day, if what we calculated on our credit side, that is our accumulated depreciation and our cash, if it is greater than our cost, then we make what? We made a profit on it. You understand? But if it is otherwise, then it is a loss. So you can quickly screenshot this in order to make our class very efficient. So yeah, this is for profit. I'm sure you must have written this, so screenshot it. But if it happens that our cost is greater than the sum of these two, then we made a loss on it. You understand? So this is another way to write it. Let's assume you want to write it in a vertical format. So disposal. So you can put it this way, at least this is our cost. Then we less our accumulated depreciation and our what? Bank or cash. So let's do it this way. There are various ways to do this. Just what you just need to ensure is make sure your calculation is what? Then so this will give us our profit or what? Loss. Or let's do this way. So our profit, then it is a loss if it is in bracket. Now there's another way in which you can analyze this. There's another way you can analyze this. It's not really common, and it might be common. You never can tell. So let's assume in the information you were not giving your costs and accumulated depreciation, but you were giving your net book value at the end of the period before you sell the asset. Then this is what you do. Our cost will be eliminated. Likewise, our accumulated depreciation. So what you'll be left with is our net book value or our carrying amount and our cash. So if our net book value is greater than our cash, then it is a loss. But if our net book value is less than our cash or bank proceeds, you can call this proceeds, then it is a what? It is a profit. Do you understand? Let me repeat myself. If our net book value is greater than our cash proceeds, then it is what? It is a loss. But if our cash proceeds is greater than our net book value, it is a profit. So now, without wasting much of our time further, let us get into the illustration so that we can understand it. Now, they said a plant purchased for 900,000 naira was depreciated at 20% on a reducing balance method for 3 years. Alright, 3 years. Then sold for 350,000 naira. So these are our proceeds, these are our cost, and these are our depreciation rate. Now we have our cost and we have our what? Our proceeds, our cash or bank proceeds. So what we need to calculate is our accumulated depreciation. So you can quickly do that. So 3 years, year one. So what we need is to calculate our accumulated depreciation. So 20% of 900,000 naira. That will give us 45,000 naira. Let's check. 180,000 naira. My bad. So 180,000 naira. These are accumulated depreciation. I'm gonna shorten this. So for year one is fixed. Year two. So for our year two, what do? We deduct. Okay, let me write it straight up. It will be 20% of, then this will now be what? 900,000 naira minus 180,000 naira. So after you've done that, so this will give us 144,000 naira. Then for our year three, so it will be 20% of, 900 minus 180 minus 140. Or the other way you can do it is, in order to save us time, let's do this with 900,000 minus 144 minus 180. So that's 576. Alright, and that will give us 115,200. So these are our depreciation charge. You understand? Like these are our depreciation for each year. So the sum of it will give us what? Our accumulated depreciation. You understand? So let us apply this to our T format and to our vertical format to give us the answer. So let us adjust this back. This is our cost. So this is what? 900,000 naira. Then our accumulated depreciation. So let's calculate. We don't know whether this is a loss or not. So let's just get rid of that. Let's sum up this. So this is 180 plus 144 plus 115. So this is 432. 439 rather. 200. 439 200. Then what's our cash proceed? Cash or bank proceed? That's what? 350,000 naira. So by the time we sum this up, obviously it is not up to our cost. So because it is not up to our cost, therefore they are incurring a loss on disposal. Loss on disposal. You understand? So let's do the calculation. So that will give us 110,800. So we made a loss on what? Loss on disposal. That's it. That's all that you need to know. Especially when you are not dealing with a CBT format or a short answer question, then this will help you go a long way. You understand? So that's all that you need to know on this. And if you have to do this here, this is 900,000. This is 439,200. And this was 350,000. So they made a loss. So when you sum this up, so this is 789,200. If you should sum it up, so this will give us what? 110,800. So this is a loss on disposal. Now we'll make a video on when we are being asked questions like this on in a theory question. When they ask us to answer a question like this in theory, whereby we need to open a ledger for both the cost, the accumulated depreciation, then before we prepare this. You understand? But for now, have an understanding of what a disposal account looks like. Alright. So thank you very much for watching our video up to this point. Kindly like, subscribe, and share it to your friends. If you have any question, ask on the comment section. See you in our next class. Thank you.